Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into something really powerful but also kind of counterintuitive. It's a strategy for living a more peaceful and, believe it or not, a more effective life. The idea of allowing everything to happen.
So let's just start with a big question, one that really gets to the heart of why we struggle so much. I mean, think about it. What if all that anxiety, all those fears, all that friction in your day, what if it all boils down to just one single thing? This constant, exhausting effort to control life, instead of simply allowing it to unfold.
You know, we're taught to believe that strength is about clenching your fist, right? Holding on tight, managing every detail. But we're going to explore a completely radical idea today that maybe, just maybe, real strength, real power is found in the exact opposite. It's found in opening your hand.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at why we're so obsessed with control. Then we'll get into what allowing actually means. We'll dive into the psychology of why we suffer, see a real-world example, clear up some big misunderstandings, and finally, give you some real, practical ways to start doing this yourself. Sound good? Let's jump in.
Okay, so first things first. Let's diagnose the problem. This thing that so many of us are up against every single day. It's this constant and honestly totally exhausting battle with reality itself.
I want you to think about it like this. We all walk around with a script in our heads, don't we? A script for how our careers should progress, how our relationships should work, even how the traffic should move this morning. But life doesn't really care about our script. And almost all of our pain, our frustration, our anger, it's born right there, in the gap between the script of what should be and the reality of what is.
There's this great old saying that just nails this idea perfectly. The harder you try to grip it, to control every little grain, the faster it just slips right through your fingers. And man, isn't that just like trying to control life sometimes? The more we try to force things, the more out of control they seem to get.
So, if fighting for control is the problem, is allowing the answer? And what in the world does that actually mean? Because this is so much more than just being passive or throwing your hands up in defeat. It's actually a very powerful, very active strategy.
The philosopher Bert Hellinger put this so beautifully. He understood that resisting something that has already happened is basically a form of self-harm. You're just beating your head against a wall that isn't going to move. The only sane and actually powerful thing you can do in that moment is simply allow reality to be what it is. And this is where it gets really practical. The investor and thinker Naval Ravikant breaks this art of allowing down into 3 simple principles. First, no preconceptions. If you're hunting for treasure and you assume it's only buried in one spot, you'll miss all the other clues. Second, no interpretation. This is huge. Stop immediately labeling things good or bad. The thing that feels like a disaster today might be the best thing that ever happened to you in the long run. And third, no attachment. Have wishes, have goals, absolutely, but hold them loosely. A wish gives you direction. An obsessive attachment is what causes all the pain. Let's peel back another layer and get into the psychology here. What is actually going on inside our minds that creates all this suffering? It really comes down to one thing: resistance.
So in any given moment, you really have a choice between these two mindsets. On one side, you've got resistance. That's the voice of your ego screaming, "This shouldn't be happening." It's like trying to swim up a raging river. You're just burning all your energy fighting the current. But on the other side, you have allowing. And it starts with a simple, quiet acknowledgement. Okay, this is what is happening. And just like that, you stop fighting the river. All that energy you were wasting is now yours to use to actually navigate and steer your way forward.
There's a concept in psychology that's a total game changer for this. It's called topic separation. Think of life as having 3 zones, or spheres. There's your business, your thoughts, your actions, your choices. That's your zone. Then there's other people's business, what they think, what they do, not your zone. And then there's nature's business, the weather, the economy, things that are just way bigger than any of us. The thing is, most of our stress comes from mentally meddling in those other 2 zones. Allowing is about ruthlessly bringing your focus back to the only sphere you truly control, your own.
I know, this can all sound a bit philosophical. So let's bring it down to earth with a fantastic real-world story about what this actually looks like in practice, especially when life decides to completely ignore your script.
So get this. There's this man who did everything right. Goes to Oxford, gets a prestigious job as a lecturer. He is nailing the socially approved script. But then he discovers this deep, unexpected passion for gardening.
And right there is the crossroads. His resistance mindset could have said, "This is silly, an Oxford lecturer can't be a gardener," but instead, he allowed it. He dropped his preconceptions about what his life was supposed to be, and he quit his job to follow this inner truth. And here's the best part. Years later, he returns to Oxford to teach, not as a failure, but as someone with this incredibly rich, authentic life experience that made him a far better teacher than he ever would have been if he'd just stuck to the script.
Okay, this is so important. We have to address the biggest, most common misunderstanding about this whole idea, because it is so easy to hear "allow everything" and think it means just give up or let people walk all over you. And that is not it at all.
Look at this distinction. It's everything. Passive resignation is that "I give up" mindset. It leads to doing nothing. But active allowance is totally different. It's looking at a situation square in the face and saying, "Okay, this is the reality. Now, what's my best move?" It's not about being a doormat. It's about being a surfer. A surfer doesn't control the wave. They don't fight the wave. They accept the reality of the wave, and then they use all their skill to actively ride it. That's the difference.
So you're probably thinking, all right, I'm on board, but how do I actually start doing this? And the good news is, it's not some massive change you have to make overnight. It's a mental muscle you build, one small practice at a time. Here are 4 concrete things you can start with. 1. Learn to spot the difference between a healthy wish and a painful attachment. A wish motivates you, and attachment is what makes you suffer. 2. Constantly ask that question, is this my business, their business, or nature's business? And bring your focus back to what's yours. 3, and this one's huge, practice small. Next time you're stuck in traffic, instead of getting angry, just try saying internally, "I allow the traffic to be here." It feels weird at first, but it takes all the fight out of it. And finally, 4, in bigger, tougher situations, make that conscious declaration in your head. I allow this to happen. It's not giving up, it's the first step to responding clearly. Ultimately, it all comes back to this. Allowing isn't about losing control. It's about stopping the pointless internal war so you can get all that wasted energy back. It's about relaxing your heart so you finally have the clarity and the strength to act wisely in the world as it actually is, not as you just wish it would be.
So, I'll leave you with a question to take with you. Forget everything else for a second and just ask yourself, right now, today, what is the one thing you are resisting the most? The one thing you're fighting? And what do you think might change if, just for a moment, you decided to allow it?